November 17th, 2019 regular meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Present.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Here.
Councilman McPartlin.
Here.
Councilwoman Weber.
Here.
Supervisor Syed.
Here. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Councilman McPartlin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're now going to move on to approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of the November 19th, 2019 regular meeting of the Town Board. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes or amendments to these minutes? Okay, seeing no changes or questions, all those in favor signified by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And those minutes are approved.
And I'm going to abstain.
Oh, okay. We have one abstention.
Thank you.
And those minutes are approved. Next, we're going to move on to a presentation by Verizon on the deployment of small cell wireless technology in the town of Niskuna. I yield the floor.
Hi, I'm Maggie Hayes. I work for the engineering group with Upstate New York for Verizon Wireless. And we wanted to come and talk to you today about small cell deployments. We are actively working with Alexis on an MLA between Verizon Wireless and the town to allow us to do work in the right of way to attach small cells to existing utility poles. First question we like to ask people is, do you even know what a small cell is? A lot of people don't so much. They don't really understand the concept. So basically what it is it's exactly what it sounds like. It is similar to the macro sites that you see that are 100, 200 feet tall. Excuse me, except they're much smaller in nature. The antennas are smaller, the equipment's smaller, and the footprint's smaller. So we use them in high density areas to create a capacity offload to give basically better wireless coverage to the greater density of people. They also free up the capacity for the macro sites that allow the macro to provide better coverage to a larger area of people. This is important because these 4G small cells that we're looking to deploy in the next couple of years are the backbone to basically the 5G service that everybody's been hearing about. With this greater improved wireless coverage comes the application that Smart Cities applies, which is the sensors and meters, the sensors on pavements and the roads, enhanced police equipment, fire equipment, things of that nature. So we're looking to work jointly with Niskuna to try to bring this technology to this jurisdiction. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I'm Greg Hanley. I'm an engineer with Verizon as well. Maggie and I work on the same team. She hit most of the solid points that most people ask about. Small cells are exactly what Maggie said. They're small. They have the same capacity as the bigger sites that you see out in the network, but they are a lot smaller. The antennas are smaller than 3 cubic feet. The total equipment is less than 28 cubic feet. So, gone are the days, I don't want to say gone are the days, but, instead of us coming and wanting to build a 150-foot tower with a 30 by 12-foot building at the bottom, we're literally talking about being able to put an antenna on a telephone pole in a small cabinet that's literally 24 inches wide by 30 inches tall on the same telephone pole to be able to do the same thing that these other sites that we've built for years can do. What it does is it provides a huge improvement to the phone service in the neighborhoods and in the municipalities that we go in. We'll see oftentimes the data rates on the phones, people that use for streaming videos, things of that nature, they'll double when we start deploying these small cells. We target areas where there's a lot of congestion in our network to improve the quality of service for the customers and the folks that live and transverse through the communities. So I always give this reference when I'm talking to municipalities about small cells. I can remember sitting in a zoning meeting probably 10 years ago, and the supervisor said, Mr. Hanley, why can't you guys just go on telephone poles? Back then, we didn't have the capability, and now we do. So we're finally at the point where we can do what people have been asking us to do for, the past 10 years. So that's what small cells, basically are. And as Maggie said, they're the building blocks for the future technologies that we'll be deploying. So
Is this something that seems to be only, it's got to be in dense areas, so it's more for cities as opposed to rural communities?
Yeah, I mean, typically the rural areas are covered, blanketed by the bigger cell sites. And then small cells are mainly deployed in urban areas, suburban areas, and then residential areas. So you will have some rural areas where all of a sudden, like a housing development may crop up, right? And all of a sudden we'll see, wow, the usage has gone up by like fivefold on this cell site. And we look at the maps or go out and, okay, the development came up. So we could put a small cell in a development to handle that localized traffic.
What kind of coverage do you have with this small cells? What's the distance?
Yep. So on a typical 4G small cell, and we figure a telephone pole is usually between 45 and 25 feet tall for where our antennas are going to be. They'll cover an average of 1,000 feet to 1,200 feet straight away in both directions. So you're looking at about 2,000 foot range per pole on a 4G small cell. A 5G small cell, which right now we don't have anything active in upstate New York, they'll typically cover up to about 500 feet in each direction.
Now, we've got some dead spots in our town here. Will these work in those areas? And my next question is going to be, what do you do in neighborhoods where there's underground utilities or rear lot line poles, which we have quite a few developments like that in Niskayuna?
Those are fantastic questions. So the small cells can definitely fill in dead zones to help improve the service in those areas. The very first municipality I met asked that second question that you asked, and I was like, I didn't know what to say. So I went and did some homework, and over the past year, Verizon has worked with 5 different manufacturers, and they make what they call smart poles. So they can make a pole look like anything. And what they really excel at is if you have a certain type of pole in this Niskayuna, whatever it looks like, they can make a pole that looks just like that, and it conceals all of the small cell equipment inside. So what we've been telling people is, if we're going to go into a community that has underground utilities, obviously we're going to pull the power and the fiber underground, but you still have to have something sticking above the ground for the antennas to be able to transmit from. Now, we can work with those communities. I always tell people now, what I believe we would do in an instance like that is call a community meeting, right? We find a local fire station, we send out the mailers to the community and say, Verizon wants to talk about, improving service in your neighborhood and the best way to do it. So we're not just coming up and putting some sort of a pole in the middle of the community and everybody's taken back by it. We want to hear from them, and we want to give them something that they're, want to see. So that's where those smart poles can kind of come into effect. And again, there's so many different options on how they can look, and we'd like to work with the communities, to deploy those if we have to do something like that.
We need that here. We gave Verizon approval to build a cell tower on Route 7 and at our highway garage. And some of the residents came to the planning board during that meeting, and they said it was going to help them in the Avon Crest neighborhood, which is a dead spot in our town. It didn't work.
Didn't help.
No.
Small cells would definitely be able to help a situation like that.
Right, and when you say pole, you're not talking about a telephone pole. In some instances, they look like a light post.
Yes.
They look
exactly.
more like, street furniture or
Yeah,
whatever is
right. And
the
that's-
common term now.
And that was the initial intent of these
Mhm.
smart poles, was they basically said, any type of street light that you have in any type of a community, these companies can match what's there. They can match the globes, they can match the shape. They're a little bit bigger around, and they may be a little bit taller, but they'll conceal all the stuff that you would normally see on the outside of the pole inside the pole.
Great. So, and to the degree that you can, and I know you can't in all instances, can you talk a little bit about other communities in which you are even discussing putting in this small cell? I know we've
So
talked
I'm-
about this in the past.
You probably are aware that we just signed an MLA with Schenectady. So we are actively working with them on, basically, we have a meeting actually set up with them tomorrow. We're going to go over requirements for aesthetics and building permit applications and where we're going to deploy this technology, what they want to see from us, what we can work with. So Schenectady is one. Syracuse is a very big one. We've been pulling permits already to put these up in Syracuse. And we have a couple of local municipalities out towards Rochester. Around
And
Equate and
also,
Greece.
City of Poughkeepsie is another one that we
Mhm.
did, an MLA, basically the same exact MLA that you guys have in front of you, we used in Poughkeepsie and Schenectady.
And we're working on all of the city of Albany as well.
Great, thank you.
So it's my understanding that the small cell technology can be used beyond even internet and cell phone connectivity, correct? And what are some of those other applications that it can be used for?
Yeah, so the future, right? I call it the future technology. I hate to use the word 5G, but the future technologies that are going to come out. It's not, everybody. Of course, I got my phones are over on the chair. Everybody thinks of the phone as the primary device, right? And what we tell people is, with the future technologies, we need to be able to serve up to 1 million devices per square kilometer. There's not 1 million people in this community, so everybody has a hard time wrapping their mind around that. But what we're talking about is embedded sensors, right? So the stuff that's being worked on now that'll work on these 5G networks, they'll have sensors in every light pole. You'll have sensors in every parking meter. You'll have sensors going across the intersections and behind the intersections that can detect traffic flow. The sensors in the light poles can, at 2 o'clock in the morning, automatically dim the lights down to reduce the power consumption. During your busiest traffic times, the sensors on the traffic signals can know the traffic coming, and if there's nothing coming on the side roads, it'll leave that light green for the traffic that's coming down the busy roads. Once traffic starts backing up, it'll switch those lights. Gunshot detectors. Some of the cities are using them now on the 4G network. The police departments are using them, and these are helpful in areas where they have high crime. Parking meters is another one that I said. I've seen where you can develop apps, like say for Niskayuna, people coming in, they want to know, where am I going to be able to park? They can pull it up on a map in an app and see which parking meters don't have a car parked in front of it. Another thing is like the surveillance cameras. If you guys deploy surveillance cameras on poles, you take all this data and see the foot traffic, the vehicle traffic, the bike traffic. And, again, that's another thing that can help the law enforcement folks too. And it's, high speed, high quality video. And you can type in, I want to see everybody that walked by this intersection in a blue t-shirt in the last 45 minutes. And within 10 or 15 seconds, it'll pull all that up. So these are some of the things that people say 1 million devices per square kilometer. You gotta be kidding me. But when you start thinking about all of these small sensors that'll be embedded in everything. And another one is, packages, right? Like right now I can get an email alert from FedEx telling me I'm going to get a shipment between 8 and noon tomorrow. But eventually I'll be able to watch where my package is in live and see it coming and know that guy's going to walk up to my house and put that on my porch. So these are, again, that's just a few examples. And then a lot of this stuff is still being developed. There's think tanks out there that are developing all of these great ideas for these sensors. Wearable devices for, elderly people even. So if, during the day you set up time ranges, whatever, if an elderly person falls down, it can automatically, dispatch, EMS to their location, things of that nature. I hope that answered the question.
Great.
One more question. So how much input are we as the town going to have in the deployment of this in the areas that it gets deployed? And what is the build out time?
So in City of Syracuse is a prime example. We worked very closely with the city. And that's a city that, we are working on the next generation of service, right? So we took feedback from them on where they felt that it needed to be versus our feedback. And we worked together, as a partnership. What I tell everybody is when we put these MLAs in place, we want to form a partnership with the municipalities. It's a teamwork thing, right? And we determine, what's best for both parties, and we go ahead and deploy. Time frame on deployments, we're just starting now in upstate New York to really do deployments in the public right away. I really can't give you a great timeline guess. I heard today from a construction guy from when, we get all the materials and everything to coordinate the work on a pole from the day when you start coordinating it till the day that the work is done is like a month long, but they're not on site for a month. I mean, when they actually go out and do the work, it's like a day. A day here for maybe power and fiber, another day to put the equipment up, and then they come back and do the testing.
And the other thing for all of these small cells, each one is going to have a separate license agreement. It's a 2-page license agreement. We will need to pull a building permit for each one, and they will need to be in compliance with your aesthetic guidelines. So you will have a lot of input and needs to meet your current code for all of those. So we will work with your planning department on each one.
Great. Thank you.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Okay. Before we head into our committee reports, we're going to go slightly out of order. And we have a ceremonial resolution to present. And we are so graciously graced hereby Assemblyman Phil Steck. If you would like to meet us at the front, Assemblyman.
Come on up here, Lisa.
Could you stick around for a second? Sure.
I get the honor and pleasure of reading this resolution for Councilwoman Weber. The resolution reads, be it enacted by the Town Board, Town of Niskuna as follows. Whereas Councilwoman Weber has served on the Niskuna Town Board since 2016. And whereas Councilwoman Weber served as Chair of the Community Programs Committee for 4 years and diligently reported to the Town Board on matters pertaining to the town's recreational, cultural, and educational needs, as well as the town's senior programs and services. And through her dedication to the community, Councilwoman Weber paved the way for the completion of energy-efficient wastewater treatment facility. And in her capacity as chair of the community programs, Councilwoman Weber worked tirelessly to secure new playground equipment at both Avon Crest and Blatnick Parks, improve the town's driving range and disc golf, planned the community splash pad for use in 2019, expanded recreational opportunities for youth, as well as creating free and low-cost fitness classes for seniors, and improved many parts of our town's wonderful bike path. And whereas Councilwoman Weber worked hard to make the town of Niskuna more environmentally friendly by taking part in buying the town's first electric vehicle for use by town officials. And in her capacity on town board, Councilwoman Weber was instrumental in securing 2% tax cut in 2017 and ensuring taxes would not be raised in 2018 for Niskuna residents, and as well as ensuring investments will be made to improve public safety. And Councilwoman Weber established the Community Farmers Market Committee and worked in her capacity as councilwoman and member of the Community Farmers Market Committee to ensure that the Niskuna Farmers Market was a success. And Councilwoman Weber served the people of the town of Niskuna with honor and distinction, and her care and understanding for importance of our community involvement will be greatly missed. Therefore, be it resolved on this 17th day of December 2019, in recognition of her years of service to the town of Niskuna, the Niskuna Town Board offers its personal and official thanks and appreciation to Lisa Weber, and hereby publicly commends her for her service to the town of Niskuna.
Thank you so much.
I'll be very brief. When I ran for the New York State Assembly, I was not from Niskuna. I'm not even from Schenectady County. And I have to say that one of the most hospitable people to me coming into this community was Councilwoman Lisa Weber. And we did work together on a number of projects that were mentioned. But, you know, sometimes we remember some things from political campaigns, which aren't always supposed to be mentioned, but I thought Lisa Listens was absolutely one of the best slogans I ever saw, because it was so true. And I can say this, we get input from residents on a variety of issues. Lisa has a tremendous amount of knowledge of this town. So Lisa is welcome in our office anytime that she wants to talk about things that we might be able to help the town in Niskayuna. So I really, when Denise asked me to come, I was both pleased and honored to be able to do that because Lisa is a special person.
I just want to thank my colleagues. I can, maybe on my last night, I'll figure out how to get this mic on and have it stay on. But it's been a privilege and an honor to serve my community in this capacity for the last 4 years. I've thoroughly enjoyed working with my colleagues and our top-notch staff. I know this resolution has itemized so many of the things we've all worked on together in the past 4 years. And I just want to say that I've worked on the state side and working on local government has just given me a whole new appreciation for the responsibility of local government and also the limitations and the pressures that people in local government are under, having, increased costs and dwindling resources and, big ideas and trying to get the budget to pay for those things. And really, the people who work here every day really work hard for the residents' best interest to make Niskayuna the best place that it possibly can be. And it really has been a fantastic place to work with. And I know that Rosemary Perez-Jaquith is here, and I'm looking forward to seeing the wonderful things that she's going to do. So thank you all. Thank you to my wonderful colleagues. It's been a pleasure. To Assemblyman Steck, who represents this district so well in the Assembly. And happy holidays, everybody. Oh, thank you. And thanks to that wonderful man in the audience over there. My husband, who has been on, Tuesday night carpool and dinner and everything for the past however long. So thank you, Michael.
We're very grateful.
So thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Yes, I did.
We're now going to move on to privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is now open. If anyone would like to speak, I would ask that you approach the lectern, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mike Casella, 3477 Rosendale Road. I'm kind of a frequent flyer here.
Thank you.
Couple quick things. I've been here a number of times concerned about the speeding, and I don't just come here and complain. I come up here with some ideas. And first of all, I want to thank Ms. Syed and Chief McManus and Chief Stevens. We got some new signs this past summer. They've been pretty vigilant with some additional patrols. So things have improved, no doubt about it. And I appreciate that. I speak for myself. I speak for a lot of my neighbors. There's still more work to be done. And the article that was passed out to everybody was in the Gazette a couple weeks ago. I don't know, Mr. Wilkins here. Anyway, if you read that, it just makes sense to put those, to buy those. I mean, they're about $1,700 each. If you do the mathematics on that thing, they're about $1,700 each. But if we were to get the ones with the radar device that sends the ticket to the speeder, they'll pay for themselves almost immediately. And once word gets out that this is what's going on, people are going to slow down. And even if we didn't have the ticket sending part, if you read the article, it says that it can figure out where the hotspots are and it can put patrols there as needed. So these signs, I'm convinced that they will work, and I'm sure that the city wouldn't spend that kind of money if they didn't feel the same way. So, and every community has the same problems. So I think that the fact that I've been here 59 years and I've watched this town grow from a bedroom community to a thriving place, and it's just we're not keeping up with it. And we just had a nice presentation about technology with these telephone poles and stuff. Here's some more technology for us. It works. 2020 is around the corner. This works. Anyway, I wanted to thank the board and the chiefs for the signs and the patrols. I also want to make a comment on the overweight or the weight limit. I did talk to Chief Stevens or Chief McManus earlier in the meeting, before the meeting started, and I understand they're county roads, but if we eliminated commercial traffic as they do on the Garden State Parkway or the Taconic State Parkway, then we wouldn't need to worry about the weight limit. Commercial traffic's commercial traffic, local delivery only. Then we wouldn't have to weigh the vehicles. But anyway, I'm just giving ideas of how we can make this hamlet of Niskuna, was where I happen to live, which is, I think, the most beautiful part of the whole town. That's why I moved there. I think we can focus on that a little bit. Anyway, I have some pictures here. I'd like to you just take a look at them and pass them down. About 6 months ago, I was here, and Ms. McGraw actually was very interested in what I was saying, but we're getting vehicles are parking down by the river. They drop off their boat or their kayak or whatever, and they park there. If you look at the pictures, they just put a beautiful new bench in, and that bench has got more use than the other ones combined. But I don't want to look out my window, and I'm sure people walking and sitting at the bike path don't want to look down and see vehicles parked there. There's no reason for it. If you drop your boat off on Lock 7, you've got to bring your vehicle up to the parking lot. Why can't we do that here? If you're healthy enough to go out boating or fishing or hunting or whatever, you're healthy enough to walk 200 feet from your car to the boat launch. So I'm suggesting again that we eliminate parking down by the river. There's no reason for it. Finally, the last thing is, it's been something I've wanted to talk about for a while, but when you're coming down 7, you can go left onto 7 or go right onto the beginning of Union Street. There's a big sign there that says Niskuna. Well, you're almost out of town by the time you see that sign. I don't know why that sign is there, but I just think it should be more prominent when you come into town, not when you're almost out of town. Other than that, I wish everybody Merry Christmas, and thank you for your time.
Merry Christmas. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda Russo, 2229 Fairlawn Parkway, Niskuna. I'd like to piggyback on what the gentleman said. The speeding in the town is also very bad on Morrow, Orchard Park, Fairlawn Parkway. I'm concerned that someday someone's going to get hit there. We have people jogging. I've been out running with my dog, and really, a car could miss you by this much. I mean, they're going beyond 35 miles an hour. And I did speak to the police department about this a couple of years ago. I haven't seen really any movement on it. And another thing that's very bad in those areas are the school buses. Those school buses speed. They turn corners. It's frightening, especially the empty ones. Coming up Orchard Park, Alexis, they'd mow you down if you didn't get out of the way. So something has to be done about that. I think it's really disgraceful. If you want to make this a walking town, you have people jogging, and a lot of people jog in Niskuna. I mean, I'm out with my dog running, and I have to tell you, I'm in fear the puppy's going to get hit or I'm going to get hit. So if you guys could look into that, I'd appreciate it. I'd like to congratulate Lisa on your service on the town board. I know it's not always easy to lose. I've been there, but the important thing is to keep working for the town, whether you're on the board or off the board. The next thing I want to mention has to do with the board, and it has to do with the newly elected school board member, Rosemarie Jackwith. I have a problem, and I don't think, this is going to be shocking to anyone sitting up there. I have a problem of intermingling school board with town board. I think it's a bad idea. This is my area of expertise. And I am concerned that someone's going to be on our town board that's going to remain on the school board. I find that disingenuous since that was never brought up during the election and is also on the IDA board. There are conflicts there. Now, it always brings a smile to me when I read that, oh, some lawyers were consulted and they said it was legal. History has taught us legal doesn't mean ethical or moral. We can go back to Plessy versus Ferguson, the Supreme Court ruling that separate but equal was legal, and we know that was not legal. It promoted segregation. We have a lot of examples in history that things were legal and they were morally and ethically wrong. I even believe the Daily Gazette had an editorial in there about this. And I really hope that people on the school board speak to her and tell her this is not a good idea. You can't serve three masters. It's impossible. And, I like these pithy sayings of, paying it forward, doing this. This smacks, I hate to say, of egotism, political greed, and self-aggrandizement. I think that if you're going to serve on the town board, your issues are different than being a school board member. Because you're voting to raise taxes on the school board, you're voting for things that may not be in the best interest of town residents, and yet at the same time, you're sitting on the town board. And I've had this discussion with Supervisor Syed. She fully knows my feelings because I even questioned her assistant who is on the school board. And I was not happy about that either, and Supervisor Syed knows that. I was very candid with her. This is not a political issue. This has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. It has to do with what is ethical and what is right for the town. And this is, I hate to say it, wrong. And I would hope that this would be straightened out. You don't run for an election and leave these little fine points out. You just don't. So that's my point on that. My third point is I was disappointed that a final budget wasn't passed. You had to go back to the preliminary budget. And I found that a little bothersome because taxes are coming up in January. And, that is the major fiduciary role of a town board. I don't know why it wasn't passed, the final budget. I don't ever think I remember that ever happening. I could be wrong, but I don't think I ever remember that. And whatever the issues were, I hope those issues get rectified the next time the budget comes around, only in fairness to the residents. Thank you, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to repeat everything. Lorene Zabin, 2455 Brookshire Drive. I find it interesting. We get up here and we speak our minds and we're hoping that the board listens and maybe hopefully there'll be some changes. I had asked about who was in charge of code enforcement. I've never heard another thing about it. I don't know what meetings I have to go to or who I have to extract an answer to. But when we have an officer who is in charge of signs that are illegal or not appropriate or not in the right place, who manages that? Well, that's right now. My point is that when people get up to speak, and I give them a lot of credit, not myself, because I've always been a talker, But people come here with concerns, and I never see, not that you want to interact with us, but someplace in your discussions, if you ever choose to meet on anything and ever resolve any issues with the town, and not continually pull your rank of a 4-to-1 majority, which I find, I don't know whether I can go through 2 more years of this. This is absolutely ridiculous. We vote for the people we want to vote for. It is your privilege to serve this town because you want to. And it is our privilege to have you get along and do the right thing for the town. And for the past 2 years, it's been butting heads, not coming to meetings, not being informed. And I'm disgusted with you. We're paying taxes to you people and salaries, and you're doing everything to avoid doing anything for us. The latest thing has been on Miss Weber, and I congratulate her. She won't have to be bothered with all of this anymore. But I was very disappointed that one of the last official things that she was going to do was to lead the charge on not voting for the town budget that she won't be here to administer. She will not be here to do the right things or anything else. And that started the little soldiers coming off the stage. Mr. Delarada, he's had some very serious problems this year and perhaps wasn't able to get to a lot of the budget hearings. Miss Denise has she's had some problems and maybe she couldn't attend. But I want to tell you, and I agree with Miss Rizzo, one of the most important things you do is manage a very large budget. Now, everything has gone up. Our rates are going to go up. We can't help the people on Whitmire Drive because of not meeting to finalize the budget. But the budget is what we have to work on. And when I see meeting after meeting where we're doing bonding or we're doing budget transfers, tells me that maybe you people really aren't right to lead the town, because you can't seem to even do a town budget. And we are very privileged here in Niskayuna. We have a lot of the things that we enjoy. We can argue about the things we don't. But I do think that I hope this coming year, with again a 4-to-1 majority, you'll find it in your political sense that we need to get along. We're 22,000 people. Maybe, let's see, 12, maybe about 12, 13,000 voters. We don't have a lot of voters because we're not a big town. A lot of the seniors are leaving because they're finding it somewhat impossible. Next subject. I have had the surprise of my life when I found out that Miss Jackwith, who seems to be a perfectly lovely person, very talented, very educationally equipped to be in politics, as so many of our lawyers are. But the fact that I was unaware, and it's my business, that she would still be on the school board until June. A letter to the editor that I believe she wrote indicated that there were new people on the school board, and she felt that her staying there as a senior member would help them. Wait a minute. They just got through electing her to help us. And I'm not sure that her thoughtfulness of trying to be in 2 places at one time was going to serve anyone well. I honestly feel that making reference to other people that may have left the school board for one reason or another was not appropriate. That person was not elected to a different political entity and did it because of something there was a disagreement with the board. Now, I believe that on January 1st, or whenever you choose to have your swearing in celebration, I believe that she should resign. I don't think she can possibly take money from the taxpayers of the town that she wants to represent and pay for $50 million bond issue for the school. Now, yes, she doesn't have to vote for that. And I'm really not, I don't know who will judge whether she is in conflict of whatever these votes are. She did have two very prominent people say, oh, there was no problem. But there is a problem. There's a personal problem here. And I'm sorry, Denise, this is kind of not your in thing. I don't think you would do that. I think you have more ethics than that. But I think that the latest I heard is she also serves on the IDA board. I mean, how many things can this wonderful person be involved in? And are we getting our money's worth? I'm really at a loss, and I don't think that Ms. Perez, who has every intentions of doing a good job, I have no doubt about that, but I don't think she can serve two masters either. I am very sorry about my comments on Ms. Weber because I don't know. I'm sure she'll get a wonderful appointment someplace in the county or maybe with Mr. Steck, who knows. And I hope that she will continue. But I am disappointed that one of her last administrative duties was not to the good of the town. It was the good of the 4-1 and preserve that 4-1. I'm very disappointed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone else would like to speak.
Oh, Bill Pompano, 1027 Hickory Road.
Microphone, please.
Hello there. Does it work? I don't know. This can be off the record because it's not all that important, but but I wanted to mention, people keep leaving that I want to talk to. Mike Casello, the first person that spoke, he did a wonderful job taking out some Austrian pine bushes in front of my house years ago, and that was fine. And then Phil Steck, I remember meeting him. It was at the time that he won the election over Joe Landry, and then of course I met you when you won the election over Joe Landry again. You know, and now Joe's not a loser, but it seems that way. But he wears 4 hats. You know, wearing 4 hats is fine, and they're all with the county. You know, library board and with the town, with the legislature as an attorney, and then his job as a supervisor, county supervisor. Now, again, there's another person that's not here either, and he's the guy that raised the idea, hey, on Whitmire Drive, why don't you just pump Pepsi bubbling water straight from River Road straight into the treatment center. Well, I had a long talk with Joe Landry maybe 2 weeks ago about this very subject, and he gave me a lot of reasons why it would take a long time to bring that about. All the land is owned by the state of New York and things like that. The fellow that raised the point 2 weeks ago is not here, but it's not only expensive, but it's time consuming, and you'd have a terrible time getting the state to approve it. as another point. And I want to raise another thing here. Now, the name Syed is not too common around here, but you can Google it and find out something about the name. You Google Pompano and you don't get anything, at least not the way I spell it. But have you ever read the book 3 Cups of Tea?
No, I haven't.
You have not read it.
No.
I've got to give it to you, and you
Oh,
can
wow,
read
thank
about
you.
it. Because
That's incredibly kind of you.
Because in Pakistan,
Mhm.
Syed is a rather common name.
It is.
Yeah, and so I got very involved in this because in this book is one of my classmates, George McGowan.
Mhm.
And he had done a great deal of work with Greg Mortensen in building up the Central Asia Institute and building schools for young girls within Pakistan and later in Afghanistan. So I'm going to give this book to you. And I think if you see on this page, if I can find it, here's a fellow. And come on. I know he's here. Here he is. Syed Abbas, Supreme Leader of Northern Pakistan's Shia and key supporter of Mortensen's mission.
Wow,
There he is.
very neat.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Now you're a common, you have a common surname in Pakistan.
Thank you. Good thing I'm going to be on vacation for Christmas. I can read this. It's perfect timing. Thank you very much. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone else would like to speak. And last call on privilege of the floor. If you'd like to speak, do so now. Seeing no one left willing to speak, I'm going to close privilege of the floor and we will move on to our committee reports. We will begin with Councilwoman Weber.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. December is always a very happy month here in the town of Niskayuna. We had our 7th annual Parents' Night Out at the beginning of the month. We had 40 children attend. It always fills right up when we send out the sign up for this. We had 40 kids here doing arts and crafts, watching a movie. We want to thank the 11 volunteers we had, Girl Scouts and high school students from Niskayuna High School who helped with arts and crafts and helped spend time with the children that evening. We filled a bin for Toys for Tots with donations. That was the price of admission that evening. And thank you for your generosity. We had also the 7th annual tree lighting earlier this month. We estimated that over 200 people were in attendance, and the Niskayuna High School Choir, led by Christina Pizzino Catalano, performed. And thank you very much to them. They come out every year, and everyone really enjoys that. First New York Federal Credit Union sponsored the hot chocolate and cookies, which we're very appreciative of. And a very special thank you to Ray Smith and the Highway Department for bringing the beautiful Christmas tree, which will be planted in a park in the spring, and for making sure the path to the gazebo was clear, and for clearing a spot for the spectators outside the gazebo, and for clearing a spot for the refreshment tent. If you don't remember the significant snowfall we had earlier this month, it was right before this event, and we just could not have done the event without them clearing some of the snow from the area. There just would not have been room. So thank you very much, Ray, and your staff. We had another wish tree for things of my very own, which helps children who are in crisis this holiday season. We had about 50 wish tags with some needs and wants, and the tags went like that within a few days. And we also were able to accept the donations. We had our staff, Lori Peretti, that delivered a van full of gifts to downtown Schenectady, which is where that agency is located. It never ceases to amaze me, the generosity of the people here in Niskayuna. And we plan to do this again next year and continue this wonderful program. West Mountain Ski Club is full. Record number of registrants this year. 44 skiers from the high school are going to West Mountain on Friday nights with Julie Laurie. And the kids are very excited about that. At our senior center, we had our holiday dinner today this afternoon, like we do every year, and the ladies' first choir from the high school came and performed and brought gifts for the seniors. That's one of the things that they look forward to every year. It's a really nice intergenerational experience. They do a sing-along and make some connections there. Again, I want to thank my colleagues for honoring me. It was quite a surprise to have Assemblyman Stuck and have these beautiful flowers and the wonderful resolutions. I want to thank everyone I've had the privilege to work with over the past 4 years, and especially the residents. It's been a wonderful opportunity to get the chance to serve the community, and I wish you all a wonderful holiday. And I couldn't ask for a more qualified and dedicated person than Rosemary Jakewith to follow me in this seat, and I know she will be equally committed to our programs and our senior community. So thank you very much. Happy holidays all.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Councilman Delarada.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Councilwoman Weber. And thank you for all of your hard work for the town of Niskayuna. It's greatly appreciated. We met the Economic Development and Historic Preservation and Environmental Conservation Committee met November 22nd. We do not meet in December due to the various holidays. We meet next on January 3rd. Which is generally the first Friday of every month, and we meet at 8:15 right here in the Schaefer Room in Town Hall. All are encouraged. Our last meeting, as I said, was November 22nd. We did do the appointment of the Complete Streets members, and you'll see a resolution tonight on that. I do want to thank people for volunteering for these committees, namely Paulina Manzo and Carla Dougal are our newest members to the Complete Streets Committee. We also have an appointment of our Climate Smart Communities Task Force members. I want to thank them. Daryl Bray, who's been a very active member in the community, is going to be on the Climate Smart Community Task Force, as well as Steve Signell. I want to thank them. We are moving forward on the River Road Park upgrades and the Aqueduct Park upgrades. And we are also hoping to submit a community forest grant and have submitted that on November 26th. The Tree Council website should be up and running very soon. They are progressing with a master plan and they are submitting a grant for the inventory to do that. Things are kind of slow in the wintertime in the town with development and the building permits and the like. But one of our biggest projects has been progressing, will continue to progress, and that is River's Ledge. They're working on the park design, and they're also working on their Canal Corps permitting. That is going to be a wonderful project in Niskayuna, which is moving forward. Again, our next meeting will be January 3rd. Please join us in the Schaefer Room at 8:15. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman McGraw.
Thank you very much. Our Water and Sewer Committee has been very busy. Obviously, this time of year, everyone is really trying to do many, many things around here, but we would like to welcome, we have a resolution tonight for a new trainee at the wastewater treatment plant, and we are thrilled to have somebody new join our team over there at one of our most important assets. Speaking of that asset, we are moving along our dryer that dries our sludge, this all-important role in the town. that project, we brought in our national consultant on that and reviewed that, and it looks like we are moving forward with getting that repaired and getting it back online as quickly as possible. One of the things I'm most excited about, and I can't believe it, in the time of one of the first things I did when I started here is we replaced the water meters. We're already up to now replacing the replacement water meters. We're going to do about 400 in the first round. We're going to do some additional, kind of come up with a scheduled maintenance program for them, get them either replaced completely, rebuilt, for those folks who have had some issues. All of it works electronically. John Jackson, a valued member of our team, drives around town and picks up all of the information electronically. It has really revolutionized what we do around here. When I first moved to town, we had little cards and you had to write it in pencil on the back and send it in. We've really been able to turn that around. And so now this will be the next generation. The issue of pumping the soda water from a different location. I don't know what Joe Landry had to say about that, but one of the things, as I understand this, and in all the years I've been working on this issue, is the farther away the organics move from point A to point B diminishes the energy value of the organics. And so it's not as useful to us as we're trying to move toward a plant that is completely what we call zero net, which is it could generate its own energy and perhaps additional energy. If the organics are diluted from a long trip from Blatnick Park or something like that, that's what would happen. That's why as short a distance as possible directly into the tanks is most beneficial when we're talking about these bubbling organics. I'll leave that to you. So, our highway department, I think they have done a magnificent job. Councilwoman Weber mentioned everything that they did to move heaven and earth and a whole lot of snow to ensure that our tree lighting went out without a hitch. This has been a demanding winter already, and we're only in the middle of December. Today is another example of that. So I want to thank them for not only moving and removing 2 feet of snow, then going back through and making sure the sidewalks were done, making sure that then all the edging and things were pushed back and removed. There's a lot that happens during a big storm here. And I think if anybody after the last storm went into the city of Schenectady and saw how we compared, they realized that there's nobody that runs a team like Ray Smith and everybody at our highway department. I want to thank Ray and Matt Yetto for welcoming our new colleague, Rosemary Jakewith, who over at the plant last Friday to see the facilities and to meet the folks. That was very gracious of them, and to take a little tour. Yard waste pickup is done. We're moving on to snow and Christmas tree pickup the month of January. So we just always remind folks, get those ornaments and those hooks and everything else off there, because that will help a great deal. Finally, I want to just say briefly what a pleasure it has been to work with and get to know Lisa Weber. I first met her when she was on the Board of Assessment Review. She has served this town in a variety of capacities. You heard her list of accomplishments read earlier by Councilman McPartlin. I think that's only really scratches the surface. We didn't even get to talk about softball and all the money she got from Phil Stack and all the things that she was able to accomplish in so many different ways. Her seniors are going to miss her terribly. Folks who run community programs like a swim team are going to miss her terribly. The Halloween parade will never be the same. So she better come back and help with all of those things. And all the work that she did to ensure that we had a viable and a fun and a really service-oriented farmers market this summer was really just yeoman's work. She and the supervisor working together as a great team to make that happen for us. So Lisa, I want to thank you. And on to the next thing.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And
Thank you. Next up is Councilman McPartlin.
Thank you, Supervisor. The Police and Public Safety meeting, we met on December 3rd here at Town Hall. Operationally, we discussed alarm monitoring at the UCC. It's the committee's recommendation that the town get out of the monitoring business sort of that we're in at this point with our equipment being very old that's at the UCC. So we discussed that at our meeting and a time frame on doing that. We discussed a fingerprint grant. We're working with our grant writer to hopefully get a grant for some new fingerprinting equipment in the police department. The committee is making a recommendation to Economic Development and the Supervisor's Office to get together and generate some communication and some letters to the state regarding Balltown Road and the traffic on Balltown Road. That was discussed at our meeting. We discussed our new clerk that's going to be at the police department at the window downstairs. This clerk's going to be used for the new discovery laws that I'm sure you've heard about on the news in New York State. And we discussed that at our meeting. Fleet and equipment. We have one new patrol car that should be on the road tomorrow. There it is, tomorrow. So, and the other one hopefully shortly thereafter. A bit of delay in getting those this year by with Ford. We're using Ford Explorers now, and they were quite delayed. Building wise, the chief and Charlie got together with Sonatrol, or Stanley, I guess, is the new company now. Charlie corrected me earlier today, to look into new securities and locks and different camera systems at Town Hall, and got a bid from them. Training, we always have training for our officers. We had an instructor development course that Officer Moore and Sergeant Party are attending. Citizen issues on Schwaber Drive. Residents would like a no parking from here to the corner, from Balltown Road to the corner, trying to get some of the cars. Some of the employees from the veterinarian seem to park a little close to the corner, so we're going to try to work with the highway committee to see what we can do about possibly getting some signs up there to keep that corner safe. We are also making some recommendations to a highway committee on our speed signs and moving some of those around the town. Community events, there was a forum at the high school that Sergeant Koshan attended, and I think the supervisor also attended, on youth alcohol, sponsored by NCAP. Town code, winter parking rules again, don't park on the street overnight. We don't want to give tickets to our residents for parking on the street. So it snows, but we don't park on the streets at night. Court issues, there were none. School district, no issues there. And our recruit that's progressing well at the academy. And our next meeting is January 7th at 8 a.m. here at Town Hall. And I also am going to miss Councilwoman Weber. Councilwoman Weber and I ran together 4 years ago. It seems like time goes by very quickly, doesn't it? And ran again this year. Unfortunately, she was not successful, but I really enjoyed my time with her, not only on the campaign trail, but here working at Town Hall with her on this board. She was a true asset to our town board and to our community. And she really epitomizes what it means to give back to your community and to serve without any agendas, just to serve for the best for all the residents of this town. And Lisa Weber surely did that in her time here at the town board and her other time here that she served the town on the assessment, right? Review. So Lisa, you will be missed.
Thanks so much, Bill. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Bill. Move on to the supervisor's report. I will keep this brief so we can get to the business of the town. I want to remind everyone that with our upcoming holidays, that Town Hall will be closed for business on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So that's a Tuesday and a Wednesday. We will, however, be open that Monday preceding and the Thursday and Friday following Christmas and Christmas Eve. Operationally, we continue to progress well through our labor negotiations with the PBA. We have wrapped up our CSA white collar unit negotiations. We have our collective bargaining agreement that is on for resolution tonight. On behalf of me and the negotiating team, we want to thank the CSA white collar unit for their cooperation But most especially, we want to thank them for their service to the town and its residents. We can't thank you enough. Again, all are welcome to attend our swearing-in ceremony for newly elected and returning officials on January 1st. That ceremony is going to be held right here in the town boardroom on January 1st at noon. So all are welcome to attend that. And finally, last but not least, I would like to thank Councilwoman Weber for her dedicated years of service on the town. You know as well as I and everyone up here what an incredibly difficult job it can be at times. It's such an incredible responsibility. You've handled it with grace and on many occasions. And I really want to thank you for your work in bringing the farmers market to fruition. We were there from the beginning when it was just the inkling of something. And for a while, we didn't even know if it was going to happen. It was very touch and go. We didn't know where we were going to put it. There were so many decisions that we had to make. We formed a committee. And I really have to say that I appreciate so much how well we work together and how much you put into that effort. So thank you so very much. And I
Thank you.
truly wish you the best in all of your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing what the farmers market is next year and coming to visit and shop. And
Absolutely.
thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. And now we will finally move on to our resolutions. So we're going to begin with Resolution 2019-286, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution establishing dates for the meetings of the town board in 2020.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. Do we have any discussion?
I'd like to offer an amendment up to this resolution.
Okay.
My proposed amendment for this resolution would be that all board meetings and subsequent agenda meetings, that the resolution shall be posted or distributed the Friday before or at least 3 days prior to the meeting date. We've heard for some of the residents that things have not been posted on our website on a timely basis and before the meetings. And I know that some of our agendas, even for our town board members, and some of the resolutions have been late coming. So I know that in some circumstances, this can happen, once in a while, but I think that we should amend this resolution so that we keep that from happening as a normal course.
Certainly. And can you state your amendment to, and I'm assuming it's the further resolved clause, correct?
Yeah, I guess it would be furthermore that subsequent meeting agendas and board resolutions shall be posted and distributed the Friday before or at least 3 days prior to the meeting date. Because that allows for meetings that are on Thursday. I think if we say it in that sense, the Friday before for our Tuesday meetings and or at least 3 days prior, that accounts for our Thursday meetings.
Okay. So on your motion to amend, I will second. Is there any discussion on that motion? And on the motion to amend, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes, or 5 ayes, excuse me.
And that motion carries.
That's the amendment. Now we have.
That's
to
the
vote,
amendment,
right?
correct? And I would actually move to amend by inserting language. So this would be under the asterisk where it says Thursday meeting. I would like to add additional language for 3 particular meetings. And so the language would read, the meetings scheduled on January 14th, March 24th, and May 26th shall be held at 7:30 p.m. And this is in consideration of the start time for one of our new council members that it would be more amenable to her schedule that we start at 7:30 p.m. So on that motion, do I have a second? Okay. So we will vote on the resolution as amended. Will the clerk please call the roll on the resolution as amended?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this motion carries. We'll now move on to Resolution 2019-287, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution adopting a salary schedule for 2020.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I don't know if the others have had enough time to review this. I haven't, so I would make a motion to table this until the next board meeting.
Okay, before we consider that motion to table, Alexis Kim, would you like to expound on what our duties are as a town board on our responsibility to pass a salary schedule? And do we have to do it today or can we wait?
We don't have to do it today.
As long as you're going to, just town law requires just that you fix a compensation on an annual basis. So it's not by the first of the year, but
Okay,
yeah, so just before the organizational meeting.
before the
Well,
organizational
not
meeting,
before, I think
At the-
January-
at the organizational
before
meeting,
January 20th.
before January 20th. Okay,
14th is the organizational meeting, which is the,
right.
Yep.
Yep, so we can, yes, exactly. Okay, so on the motion to table, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to table?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes to table.
Okay, and that motion carries the table. Next resolution, 2019-288, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to enter into a contract with Kuzak and Company CPA LLC for professional auditing services.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this motion carries. Next resolution, 2019-289. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to enter into a contract with the Animal Protection Foundation of Schenectady, Inc. for dog sheltering services.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this motion carries. Next resolution, 2019-290, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to employ a part-time clerk in the Niskuna Police Department.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-291, sponsored by Councilman McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Schenectady County District Attorney's Office.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-292, sponsored by Councilman Delarado. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing a person to the Complete Streets Committee.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Oh, Lisa. have-
Lisa.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I'm thrilled to have these two people join our team. The Complete Streets Committee has really been a tremendous asset, and I know that the folks that we are appointing tonight will really help us continue to grow that and move forward on the vision that we all have for this community. So thank you to them very much for their service.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, both of these women had come to me with interest in serving their community and interests especially in making our streets more runnable and walkable. And I'm very excited to see that they are officially going to be appointed to the Complete Streets Committee. It makes me very happy. So
Great. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-293, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing a person to the Climate Smart Community Task Force.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-294, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing a person to the Board of Assessment Review.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Abstain.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes and 1 abstention.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-295, sponsored by Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing additional employees to the Supervisor's Office, Engineering Department, Planning and Building Department, and Information Technology Department.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second. Oh, I'm sponsoring it, sorry.
Nope.
Bill?
Second.
Oh, 1, 2, yeah.
Second.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there any discussion?
These are all folks who have been working for us for a while, and we are thrilled that they will be coming back. Our student workers are an important part of what makes things happen here and make us more accessible town hall. So I'm thrilled to see these names, and I am very happy to be welcoming them back to the various departments around town hall.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-296, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing a wastewater treatment plant trainee.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-297, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the renewal of a contract with Tri-Heathrow Engineering and Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, SCADA, software systems.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-298, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the renewal of a contract with Harris for utility billing services, software.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-299, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the purchase of a dump truck for use by the Water and Sewer Department.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-300, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authoring the purchase of chemicals and lab services to be used by the town in its public works operations during 2020.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-301, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the purchase of material and equipment to be used by the town of Niskuna in its highway and public works operations during 2020.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion?
For this resolution and the resolution before it, I just want to thank the staff for pulling all of this together. I know they were working quite hard for the last few days to make sure that everything that we use throughout the year is listed here, so thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
5 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-302, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to fix the water consumption rate for properties in Consolidated Water District Number 1.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
All right.
Sure.
Lisa can have it.
Yeah, I'm seconding.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion?
I have some questions about this resolution as well as Resolution 303 that follows with the increases in the proposed increases in the utility rates. I realize that we have quite a gap to fill financially. I know the last time we discussed this in terms of the budget, we discussed the possibility of coming up with different levels of use so that the minimum could be less than 21,000 gallons of water. I don't think that this resolution reflects that, the 303. Does it reflect
Paul,
that?
I know Paul looked at
Is
this.
that- Are we
and-
missing?
Yeah, Paul looked at this, and I would just ask that he would explain this.
Yes,
And
please.
then perhaps the supervisor, this is our proposal.
Mhm.
Somebody-
Yeah, I did provide 5 options. This was the
Right.
best and least expensive one, and it did drop the minimum threshold down from 25 to 21. In an
Okay.
attempt to make the increase as minimal as possible. It's actually 50 cents for that lowest tier, where others in larger water consumption brackets are going up $10, $15, $20. The low tier that you were concerned with are going up 50 cents.
Okay,
That was
50
about the-
cents.
50 cents. That's about the best. I mean, you have to,
Right.
we're working with rounding and thousands, and it's hard, and you can, just to get it to a. an
Not
even
50
amount.
cents a thousand,
No, it's 50 cents.
just 50
total.
cents,
50 cents,
because that's a flat fee.
yes.
Okay, because I know we had discussed, you'd provided us so kindly with those options, but we didn't have a conversation with which one was going to be
Yeah.
chosen and put.
Well, that would have been in
forward.
December, but we didn't meet.
Right, okay.
We did have a finance committee meeting, so
But,
yeah,
the- right.
we
but
definitely had a
didn't
finance
discuss-
committee meeting.
We didn't discuss.
We didn't
that
have this proposal.
This
proposal.
was there, I think this was.
We didn't have a discussion about it. I mean, you
No.
had, and you didn't give us all the various things. So no, we definitely had a finance committee meeting.
So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to come up with, the dollars we need without impacting some people a little and some people more. You just can't, you can only spread it out so far. But anyway, there were 5 options. I don't like any of them, honestly, like the rest of you, but there's debt to pay.
So why does 303 need a hearing and 302 doesn't seem to need a hearing?
It's my understanding that for the sewer district that that necessitates the public hearing before we effect a rate change. Am I correct? Thanks, Paul. And Alexis, thank you both. So that's really the only difference between why we can vote on a resolution for rate change for water and we will have a public hearing before voting on a rate change for sewer.
Even though we're putting them on the same bill now. Okay.
Yeah, we say they're both there.
Is there a number on an average consumer in the 21,000 to 50,000 gallon range of what the increase may be, your average consumer?
Is a sewer 6?
Yes. Right, this is resolution 303. I know technically we're still on 302.
So it wouldn't really be the average consumer, correct? It would just be if you are consuming between 21,000 and 50,000 gallons.
Right. So based on the spreadsheet that Paul Sebesta provided us with a couple of months ago, there was about 650 users who fell between the threshold of 21,000 to 24,999 gallons of water. So it will be
49.
prorated. So if you use now 21,100 gallons of water, it will be $63 plus it's $3 per 1,000 gallons prorated to like my example was 21,100. So it would be incremental. So
Right.
anywhere
if-
between, the maximum would be $15 if you were at the 24,999.
Okay, so the maximum would be 15 on each side
Well, yeah.
of the bill.
Yeah, so it would be, it's $3 per 1,000 gallons. The difference here is that we broke down the usage into, it went from 0 to 25,000 to 0 to 21. And then between 21 and 25, you have the extra 3 per 1,000 gallons. So it affects about 600 users based on the data that I was provided with.
Okay, so they're looking at maybe $60 a year, somebody in that
It would be,
max range?
well, for the maximum range, I was just speaking to the difference between
Right.
the patent. It would maximum would be $15 more than they would have paid under the old rating scheme.
Okay, on both the water and the sewer side, twice a year. So
For the sewer. For the water, I'm not sure. I don't know. That data Paul's provided you guys with charts with earlier.
Okay, I'm just trying to get some understanding about the scope of the increase
Yeah.
before people get
Thank
there.
you.
We vote on something for people that's going to affect people's bills. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Is there any further discussion, questions? Okay, seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-303, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to call for a public hearing on sewer rent rates for Consolidated Sewer District Number 6.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-304, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to make certain budgetary modifications.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-305, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute any and all necessary documents for accepting money grants from the state and municipal facilities grant program.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-306, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the CSCA White Collar Unit.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I'd just like the town attorney to brief us on this. We did not have a final meeting for the management side of this agreement. We did not have an executive session after the last meeting on this agreement. So can you just, what are we agreeing to?
We're agreeing to primarily a salary increase of 2% a year it's a 5-year contract. The salary increase is 2% a year for the first 4 years and 2.25% year 5. We've also agreed to a clothing stipend I don't know the amount. $250? How much? $200 a year. Those are the primary.
Is that something new? Was that in there before, this clothing
That's
stipend?
new.
No, it was not. That's a new.
It was there in the prior contract, it was increased amount in the last year's contract.
But when we did the last contract,
But it
we
wasn't
gave
an
them a
annual.
bump
I
at the
got it.
end.
I got it. Yep.
This, we're calling it a clothing allowance.
Yep.
It's, it's not so that's the difference. It's just semantics.
Well, thank you for getting this shut down by the end of the year. I know it was a priority for us, so thank you for everything you've done working on all these contracts this year, Counselor.
This was a good one. They had a good bargaining committee, and we were able to enjoy the discussions, and it worked out. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Questions? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Delarada.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
5 ayes.
this motion carries. And that's it, folks. We are done for the night. That wraps up our 2019 season. So I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do we? Yes. Yep. Thank you, actually, for bringing that up.